There are stories that shouldn't be possible, and yet they happened. This is one of them, because what you're about to hear is not normal. Who felt something no one else could explain, and a life that didn't follow the rules of reality. Stay with me, because this story changes everything. There are stories that feel impossible, and yet they are real. Stories that don't fit into logic, that seem to exist just outside the limits of what we understand. Stories that quietly challenge everything we believe about life, about reality, about ourselves. This is one of them. It begins not with something extraordinary, but with a feeling, a subtle discomfort, a quiet sense that something is missing. A child growing up in a world that seems complete to everyone else, but not to him. From a very young age, he felt it. Not as a thought, not as a question, but as a presence. Something inside him, already awake. While others were learning how to belong, he was feeling that he didn't, not because he was lost, but because something in him was already searching for something he couldn't name, something invisible, something deeper. And when a life begins like that, it rarely follows an ordinary path. Days passed. Life continued. Everything looked normal. But inside, something was growing. A silent awareness. A pull that didn't come from the outside world. It didn't promise success. It didn't offer comfort. It didn't explain itself. And yet, it was impossible to ignore. There are moments in life when something shifts, not dramatically, not loudly, but deeply. A moment when reality itself feels slightly different, as if there is something more, just beyond what you can see. He began to notice these moments where time felt suspended, moments where silence felt full instead of empty, moments where he felt guided, not by a voice, not by a person, but by something he couldn't explain. And the more he felt it, the stronger it became. It was no longer just a curiosity. It was becoming a calling. And a calling does not ask for permission. It does not wait for the perfect moment. It does not explain what will happen next. It simply appears and asks one thing: will you follow? And maybe you felt something like this too, a moment when everything around you seemed normal, but inside you knew something was changing. A moment when your life no longer felt aligned with who you truly are. A moment when you felt that staying the same was no longer possible. That is where the path begins, not with certainty, but with tension, not with answers, but with a feeling that refuses to disappear. And for him, that feeling reached a point where it could no longer be contained. It became clear he couldn't stay. Not because something was wrong, but because something inside him was calling him somewhere else. A place he didn't know, a path he couldn't see, but one he felt with absolute certainty. So he made a decision that would change everything. He tried to leave, not just physically, but internally. He tried to step away from everything that defined life until that moment. His home, his family, his identity. Because when a calling becomes strong enough, it begins to dissolve everything that no longer fits. And that process is not comfortable. It feels like loss. It feels like confusion. It feels like stepping into the unknown without any guarantee of what comes next. And yet, it is also the beginning of something real, something true, something aligned with who you are, beneath everything you were taught to be. He didn't fully understand what he was doing. He didn't have a plan. He didn't know where it would lead, but he knew one thing. He could not ignore it anymore. So he moved, he followed what he felt, and without understanding it. And in that moment, everything shifted. Because sometimes, when you try to escape your life, you are not running away. You are being guided towards something that has been waiting for you all along. And what happened next was not what he expected. Because the path he thought he was leaving behind was only the beginning, a beginning that would lead him into one of the most profound spiritual journeys ever recorded. A journey that would touch millions of lives. A journey that would reveal something deeper about reality itself. But at that moment, he was just a boy standing at the edge of a decision he didn't fully understand. And that is how it begins. Not with certainty, not with clarity, but with a step into the unknown. And if you want to understand what really happened next, you have to begin at the beginning, because this is not just a story. It is a journey